শ্রীতম আমাকে শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
এই ভিডিওটা কি অন করতে দিচ্ছে না নাকি?
না ভিডিও তো স্যার দেওয়া অন করতে দেওয়া অন করতে পারবেন।
কই করতে পারছে না।
শ্রীতম,
হ্যাঁ স্যার। হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
শ্রীতম,
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম শুনতে পাচ্ছি ম্যাম। হ্যাঁ শুনতে
শ্রীতম,
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম শোনা যাচ্ছে।
ম্যাম শোনা যাচ্ছে।
শোনা যাচ্ছে ম্যাম।
Okay, ma'am.
hello.
You are audible, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are quite
Am
audible.
I audible?
Yes, quite audible. Quite audible. কিন্তু আপনার ভিডিওটা আপনার মাথাটা একটু কেটে যাচ্ছে, ফোনটাকে একটু দূরে নিতে হবে সিস্টেম। না ফাইন জাস্ট ফাইন ম্যাম। প্রফেসর মৈত্র হ্যাজ অলরেডি জয়েন্ড us. It's a great pleasure for us. So should I
Okay, wonderful. So I think we can start.
Yeah. Thank you. So
Good morning, ma'am.
good morning and
Very
good
good
day to all.
afternoon.
I am Dr. Raut from Alipurduar Techno India Teachers Training Institute.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
So,
I think we can start now. We should start.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
With due permission of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, it's a wonderful day. Good morning and good day to everybody. Borisho dhara maje shantir
Where is
bari.
our chief guest? I can't see him. Where is our chief guest? I can't see him.
I can see you.
Welcome.
ম্যাডামের সাউন্ড প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
Welcome.
শুভ সকাল, শুভ দিন। বরিশো ধরা
Some
মাঝে
kind of
শান্তির।
problem. Net problem.
ম্যাম আপনার কথাও কেটে কেটে যাচ্ছে। আমাদের কথা কি শোনা যাচ্ছে শ্রীতম? থ্যাংক ইউ। আমরা শুরু করছি। গুড মর্নিং টু অল, গুড ডে টু অল। বরিশো ধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাড়ি। গতকাল সারা রাত বৃষ্টি হয়েছে, কিন্তু আমরা জানি যে সব অন্ধকারের উৎস থেকে আলো ছিনিয়ে আনবাই আমাদের কাজ। অ্যান্ড দি ইন্সপিরেশনাল ডাইনামিক লিডারশিপ অফ দি ভাইস চ্যান্সেলর Professor Honorable Shoma Bandyopadhyay, we are going to organize a lot of series of academic lecture, and she was very keen to have the best academic personality within our institutional arena, and it's a great pleasure for us that today we have got the stalwart academician with us. And I first request Professor Shoma Bandyopadhyay, Honorable Vice Chancellor of West Bengal University of Teachers Training, Education Planning and Administration, to welcome our chief guest and speaker today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good afternoon. It's really I think a wonderful day for us, and with the magical presence of Professor Saikat Saikat Maitra, Honorable Vice Chancellor of MAKAUT, that is Maulana Abul Kalam University of Technology. I think it's a great pleasure for us to have him amongst us today. And so at the outset, let me extend warm welcome to our chief guest and speaker of today's webinar, Professor Maitra, and all of you who are present in today's webinar, organized by Teacher Education Department, Webudepa. And today's topic of discussion is Education 4. In the era of cutting-edge science and technology, educationists have already started debating the many ways in which the content of education at all levels and the process of learning will need to change over the years ahead. As innovation guru Clay Christensen has pointed to this dramatic unbundling of education from its current form so that it can be personalized, repackaging, peer-to-peer, and continuous, whether it is classroom or workplace, online or offline, structured or unstructured, taught or learnt, standardized or not, certificated or not, then learning is likely to break free from our old mindsets in the coming years. And why talking about future? In the present pandemic situation also, the new direction for learning has already shown its merit in terms of business continuity. Nowadays, it has become more important to know why you need something, a knowledge or a skill, and then where to find it rather than cramming your head full. Then, built around each individual the personal choice of where and how to learn and tracking of performances through data-based customization, whatever suits you. Another thing is learning together and from each other. This is very important. This peer-to-peer learning will dominate. Teachers more as facilitators or communities built around shared learning and aspiration. And so, Education 4 is the vision which will accomplish the missions that I just mentioned, the genesis of which has been derived from the state-of-the-art technology, that is Industry 4 through artificial intelligence. I express my deep gratitude to Professor Saikat Maitra, Honorable Vice Chancellor MAKAUT, for giving his kind consent to speak on this particular topic today. Professor Maitra, I believe, needs no introduction, but for the benefit of all the participants present here today, let me inform that he is the spearhead of introducing several curriculum involving deployment of information technology in the teaching learning process, and has taken great initiative in offering courses on Industry 4, and is the best person, I believe, to elaborate on the congruence between I4, that is Industry 4, and E4, that is Education 4. So, I won't take much of your time now. So, let us go to Professor Saikat Maitra. Over to you, Professor Maitra.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Shoma Bandyopadhyay, for this nice and elaborate introduction. And good morning to all my esteemed colleagues who are present over here. Now, today is rather, this different type of day, because I was just listening that Borisho Dhara Maje Shantiro Bari. But the fact is, I would like to narrate a story with a lighter tone. The two gentlemen, one belonged to philosophy and another from engineering background. They went for this countryside visit and spent their night inside a tent. And at the midnight, the philosopher, he suddenly woke up and he asked his engineer friend, "Can you see the vast sky above us, star-studded sky? It reminds us how small we are, and the entire universe is moving at a rhythm. Do you feel all these things?" Engineer friend immediately responded, "I am feeling only someone has stole the tent out from us." This is the fact is this, here I am suffering today from waterlogging problem at my home. I stay at ground floor and already water has penetrated this enclosed many part of my residential area. So when you are staying upper, it is very wonderful thing to enjoy the beauty of the range. But those who are staying at the ground floor, for them it is a pathetic experience. Now let us come back to our discussion. I would like to give a description of how the transformation in education happened in the course of human civilization over a period of time. And Professor Shoma Bandyopadhyay rightly pointed out, this has quite a good relationship with the evolutions of industrial pattern. In summary, if you look at it, industry is the modern industrial age. It started when it started after the invention of steam engine in 17th century. Then it replaced many of human jobs, traditional and manual jobs. And it started a new era in human civilizations in this form that mechanization process started. You see, this the significance of it is many things became, they started assuming a structured form. Many informal practices, many these manual things that started assuming a mechanical structure. And the thing is this, when the First World War started, before World War, First World War, and after post First World War, there was a significant change in our education practices. Before First World War, if you look at these practices of many of these corporate universities across the world, particularly Europe and other countries, we will be saying this. Most of these courses, these are not related to engineering. And after the World War is over, then the importance of introducing many engineering curriculum for developing skilled manpower, that necessity was felt. And the persons who were instrumental in introducing this format of education, they belong to military profession. If you look at this, the situation of the scenario, their thought process, that got reflected in the entire designing process. In military process, you see the thing is that the commander stands on the center stage and the cadet stands of this commander in rows, different rows, in a disciplined manners. They are not supposed to ask questions. They are only supposed to take commands and orders and dictation. So that thought process got transferred in our education system. And it continued and continued for so many years. If you look at the classroom, that you see this, the connotation is something like this, the placing of this the chair and table for teachers and rows of benches for students is somewhat, is related to that thought process of military persons in designing this education system. In India, you see, the situation was something worse because we had our education systems earlier, but when this British rule started and the British started their administration over here, and they found it is becoming very much cost prohibitive to bring these European persons from UK, because at that time it took more than 21 day sea journey for bringing any persons from UK to India into taking part of the administration. This is one thing. Second thing is, most of these persons, because India was something different, country of heat and dust, of different cultures, so they could not make themselves comfortable, many of them. And that's why we came across the stories of their dissident behaviors, their oppression, all these things, because that is a part of human psychology. When persons they are divided from their own cultures, they are taken away from their families, their own these countries and all these things. They are brought to some other country where the culture is entirely different and all these things. There, this negative part of their mind that become activated, and that's why all these stories of oppressions and tortures and all these things related to British personnel that we came to know about in this period of British administration, maybe a reflection or maybe a consequence of all these things. This is all, and but the most important point is it requires huge cost, because the British profession of these people, they need to get payment equivalent to their counterpart of Great Britain. So that payment is huge. India is a vast country. So many people, this large number of people are required that time for running the administration process. So that time they decided why not to train these local people and to engage them in the administration process to cut down the cost and to make this administration more effective across the entire country. And that's why all the stories of there's dispatch and all these things, and this process of generating clerk. You have to take dictation without asking any questions, and that the famous stories of one clerk who killed one fly because he found one dead fly was stuck on a page, and so he thought that this should be copied. So he caught a fly and killed it and pasted on the page again where he was copying. So all these stories, we all of us know. These are all the reflection about that period. And even after the independence, 72 years of independence, still this colonial hangover is doing. So this is another story. But if you look at this education development in the entire civilizations of human being, if the first human being, the first educational format which came into human civilization is called education 1.0. This is a feature of education in the ancient part and the Middle Ages. And the feature of this education 1.0 is here personalized process of teaching was more prevalent, because this handful of students, they were supposed to stay with their teachers, and they're supposed to take knowledge from their teachers. These systems were very much prevalent, very much was in existence in India. It is called Guru Shishya Parampara. There are lots of these stories of Aruni and all these things you know about this. Mahabharata stories are the stories of these Pandavas and Kauravas, how they got their teaching from Brahmacharya and Pipacharya. The Guru was the source of knowledge, and these handful numbers of students from this elite class or royal class, they were supposed to get that knowledge from him. And this education was entirely informal, because there was no structured syllabus. Students they got the chance of knowing many things, many these areas, and this culture was existing in ancient China, ancient India, Rome, Greece, and in many tribal societies. So this form of educational systems was prevalent. And at the later period, when these education systems that got many more popular and more formalized, then appearance of any university that started, that particularly that in India, it is the consequence of this the period of Buddhism. The Lord Buddha came and started giving educations in the common masses, taking inspiration from this Buddhist philosophy. It's universities like Nalanda, Taxila, Vikramshila, in India, in many other parts of the world, of Japan and other countries that started getting to develop. And the major part of this university systems was education was mostly related to religious systems and spiritual education. You see this, if you look at this pattern, here student-teacher ratio, which you talk today now, for English it is 1:25, sometimes it is 1:20. So that student-teacher ratio is low, very flexible structure, very flexible syllabi, highly personalized, and here it was multidisciplinary, because the students are supposed to know language, astronomy, warcraft, economics, politics, many areas. And even in that system, student choice was taken into consideration, because some students are better at art, some at dance, some at war strategy, some at cooking, some in politics, and even in war also. Maybe for different armors and different weapons, they developed their own expertise. For example, if you look at Mahabharata, the Pandavas, 5 Pandavas, they had 5 different specializations. Or Yudhishthira was specialized in spear throwing. Bhima was in this mace or gada, using this gada as this weapon. He was the expert in this area. Arjuna was a great archer. Then Nakul was expert in wielding his swords, and Sahadeva was expert in this running the horses. So all this you see, this within that means within there are many subdivisions. Within the subdivision, there are also sub-specializations, and in this way that education systems continue. No questions of technology, because there is no technology available for capturing the knowledge, and that's why the knowledge was captured only by memory. The most reliance was most on memory, and knowledge was passed down within a narrow lineage. Because that time manuscript and all these things were that was not that much prevalent and that much available for Vedas. This is called Shruti. That means you have to memorize. You have to memorize, and then from Guru, their shishya, their disciples, they used to memorize it, and they then all these things are transmitted from one generation to another generation through memory and memory. So this was not a scalable format of education, highly unscalable. and restricted, but limited places where these gurus they used to stay. At that part only, this education format developed, and it was this forte of the royals and elite classes, because these royals and elite classes, they used to afford this type of education. The common masses, these downtrodden people, they did not have access to that education. It is better the authoritarian, because what the Guru says, Guru's Bhakta is Ved Bhakta. The Guru, what Guru says, that is absolute. You have to follow that, and you have to obey that. And the student was passive recipient. So this format we can call absolute teacher-centric system. The teachers is a epitome of knowledge. He is supposed to give knowledge and is absolute leaders in this teaching learning process. And this continued till the medieval period, and then higher education 2.0 started to emerge. Why that has started to emerge? Because that is also related to the social changes at that time. Because you see, that time earlier, from this 9th century, 8th century, and previous to that, we got the evidence that people started capturing knowledge in the form of clay tablets, in the form of engraving on the stones, in the form of this writing on the these animal skins, then in here palm leaves. But the major revolution happened after the invention of paper at China. That this printing press, invention of paper and invention of printing press, it dynamically changed the entire knowledge reproduction and sharing systems. Because that time books were developed, and that became the particles in knowledge dissemination. And then this process of knowledge transmission, earlier it was one-to-one, but when the books were developed, then it became one-to-many. One book that could cater to the thirst of knowledge for many learners. So this is one revolution. Technologically, from social side, because of this knowledge transmission to different level, different forms of revolution started and different societies. In European societies, French Revolution, other areas. You see, these revolutions, Renaissance, reforms, that started to happen because common masses, they started getting this education in a larger scale. And as a consequence of that, universities were established as a center of higher learning. In 14th and 18th century, if you look at this history of Europe, most of these universities were established. They opened the door of higher education to common people, and this may be called a period where journey of elite education to mass education started. Women's education started. Informal education that becomes formal. New discipline started to born. So this is the features of education 2.0. Here, then industrial revolution, this happened. Machines came in the picture. Analog technology, mechanical technology, they restructured the proportion of human labor for any activity. Mass scale. These are the features of this period. Mass scale use of fossil fuel, emergence of engines, steam engine, IC engine, jet engines. That becomes the world became small. World became smaller. Earlier, we had to take up the journey from one place to other, either by foot or by sea route. That took a significant period of time. But now, with this invention of the steam engines, with this jet engines, the world became smaller. It was easier for people to migrate from one place to other place to get the education, to get the knowledge. So this is one of the major features at this particular period. And this was scalable. Earlier, this for education 1.0, what we are talking about, that was highly unscalable because only at a limited state, limited number of people used to, they used to engage themselves in this form of teaching learning process. But this time, this will become scalable as larger section of the people, they got access to this education. And this is this process continued. This process continued to education 2.0 for a longer period. Teachers, books, that was the students, their teachers and books that became the primary sources of education for the students. Persons with more information, they are considered better educated or smarter. Even when we were students, that time we have encountered all these things that the teachers, they have their knowledge, they have their notes, they have their this knowledge repository, and from their when I can remember when I was a student at my undergraduate classes and postgraduate classes, teachers used to give the dictations from their collected notes and all these things. At that time, it was assumed that teachers, he is the repository of knowledge, and from there the students are supposed to take the knowledge by the dictations and by process similar, this analogous to this. So here also, that means the focus was memorizing information and recalling of this information, and this memorizations and recalling of this memory, that was tested by periodically. That was the assessment process. Those who scored high at that period, they had the ability to memorize large numbers of things and to recall that thing at the time of examination. And better one performed in this system of evaluation, more literate, more this educated he or she was considered. There are no customization. Same content, same teaching methodology was applied to all. And then technology use was very limited. Even at our period, technology application means only when we were students of engineering. That time, technology uses means use of calculator. That came. I am telling you personal experience. And then photocopying. Photocopying means this which ultimately that became synonymous with Xeroxing. Xerox is the company. So Xeroxing of all these notes and handouts. That became this major feature of technology. This was the so far you can remember that period before 90s and all this. This was the use of technology, and afterwards the computer came in picture, but that was not much used in the education systems. But after 90s, this communication and collaboration started to go, and that happened. That became more popular when this Microsoft Windows and all these things that became very popular across the entire world. Now here you see till 2000s and 2000 onwards, exam-based approach, orthodox methods of examinations still had more reliance in memorization of knowledge. And that time people started talking about student-centered approach, but it was only the thought process. There was no sign of applications of a student-centric approach in the education system. So this was the major feature, and the schools and education systems are talking about the hours of teaching. Hours of teaching are more important, but that time. But now we are feeling that hours of teaching is not so important. Hours of learning is more important. Technology started in the after 2000. The technology started invading social networking. That started coming. Orkut that time. Then all this technology that became a prominent part. Mobile using, messaging, all these things that became a part of our systems. So this became a part of our educational systems, the messaging of short SMS, and then use of social media, for Facebooks and all these things, these Orkuts. Facebook came later. Then that became more prominent, and the major thing here, which was observable, that for the adoption of technology, students were more smart than the teacher, because their absorption or their getting comfortable with the technology was much more than the teachers. So this happened. I had the experience about many times, because when I was teacher also, that time for software uploading, for minor problem with the computer, I used to call my students, because they were smart enough to fix all these small problems and to either maybe install some softwares or maybe some minor hardware fixings and all these things. Still, it is like this. Many of the students, they are more smart than us. They take care of the technology in a better way. And this communications among the classmates, earlier it was not that much feasible, because that time telephone was there, but this landline telephones, that system which exists for a pretty long time now. The use of these was limited. Number one. Television came in picture, but in many household systems after this 80s and 90s, television came. But massive use of this television in educations, that was not the prominent. And cable networks and all these things that started to come in the market, and the use of all these things in education are very limited. at the age of this education 2.0, education 3.0 that started on 2000, because this, there is no clear distinctive, this mark when one system abolished and another system started. It can call, this a mixed period where 2 and 3 coexisted, and education 3.0 that got matured, and education 2.0 that got, this slowly and slowly, this disappeared. So in the present day, because of this internet penetration and information and the massive spread of information technology, we can call that this period is a total democratization of education. Because education or quality education is what it is accessible to otherwise deprived class in mass scale. This is the phase of this last part 20th century, and this chalkboard was replaced by ICT bearing education. Many places ICT, applications of ICT in education that became a part. Initially it was voluntary, that afterwards it started becoming compulsory in school, college and university systems. Digital age started after 2010 onwards. Digital age. You see, this, if you look at this technological scenario, if you look at 17th century and onwards, if you look at this journey of this technology, this rate of development is faster within the last 20-30 years, last 50 decades. Because this is called this accelerated rate of technological growth. And at this period, in this digital age where it started, is the computer, that became computer, smartphone, the laptop, iPad. These become you see within the last few years, this has become features of many of these learning systems, many of the part of the learners. And now this use of Facebook's, use of WhatsApp, messenger systems, all these things, these are widely used in teaching learning systems. So this in television, the television lecture started. Internet, lots of things are coming up. YouTube's revolutionized many things, because people are talking about this YouTube University, because so many contents are available. Yeah, there in the forms of these uploaded lectures and uploaded these videos and all these things. So now these people realize the importance of student-centric approach. The initial concept of sage on the stage, that started to abolish with the appearance of guide by the side concept of the teachers. The role of teachers was getting transformed into coordinator, facilitator, advisor, learner, practice guide, and all these things. Because what was there after even 20-30 years before, this hangover is still existing in the most of the teacher. That is still there. Cultural hangover is existing. We're still thinking what was there, what the practice when we were students. That time teacher had all this knowledge, access to the knowledge, and whatever he used to give, he or she used to give, students are supposed to take only that. But now, whatever the teacher is teaching, the student can always validate it going to using his smartphone, his or her smartphone, accessing internet, and getting this more information. Because everywhere, everything is available everywhere. So we cannot say the teachers are only knowledge repository and teachers are only the source of knowledge. This is no longer valid. So all are learner, maybe the teacher, they have the better comprehensive power to understand the student, they have this comprehensive power. So this is the time of concept of senior learner and junior. Research is a more important thing here. You see, and earlier it was there, the students were supposed to consume knowledge, but the conception of consumption, the generation of knowledge further, that has started. That has started in this way. Suppose one thing, one concept, one student started to post. If he posted in the social media, if by Facebook or in blog, then immediately there may be answers, counter answers, all these things. And if you look at any post, then after some period, you will see a significant amount of information and opinions and knowledges have been accumulated there, and that had changed. Maybe the original viewpoint and a new viewpoint or new dimensions of that particular concept and particular area had emerged. So this is called consumption. But this is available in many places. If you tweet anything, you will see there are lots of repetition of all these things, and if you combine all these things within a significant time period, you will see there is a new emergence of new idea or new conception. Flipped classroom methods. That became a feature here. Technology is everywhere. Self-learning concept because here the system is, as the industry is undergoing a massive, these technological changes. So whatever there is taught at this universities or college level, this when the students is joining at the university, this industry or professional areas, many of these things are no longer required or new things have emerged. So this is the concept of continuous learning that started. So the classical style, the classroom that no longer exists. So this was the features of education 2.0, but not so in a formal manner. People understood the importance. People understood the importance of all these things, but still they were practicing the old concepts of teaching learning significantly. And then we have observed this emergence of cloud concept. Cloud concept, anything can be stored in the virtual world, and from there anything can be retrieved. From anywhere we can access it, we can have this access. Virtual classrooms. That started, the technological this revolution started. Digital communications made this entire world is such a this connected. From sitting here, you can have the lectures from UK universities or US universities. Lots of these non-sustenance human inputs that shifted for execution manufacturing. Earlier it was there, human beings were directly involved for manufacturing process, handling of machines and all these things. Now the shift is to design, to plan, to manage, to develop a service, to develop policy. So all these things are they started gaining momentum, because these traditional parts or this manual intervention in many areas that gets this reduced and diminished because of this technological advancement and automation of many areas. So one to many means many. This concept of broadcasting, this has become a popular feature here. So for this part, you see this education 3.0 is continued. Problem solving, analytic explorations, this has gained equivalence to information recall. Information recall is not that is important, but how skilled you are in solving problem, how skilled you are for analysis a particular things, that is equally important. And focus depends on service industries, because lots of inclusion of soft skill educations high school and others, technical level, that become very prominent. So this was the major features of these systems. And then within the last few years, people are talking of education 4.0. They are calling this future is here. At the backbone of higher education 2.0, the new age of higher education 4.0 that started. This puts the learners at the centers, and this enables the learners, the student, to choose his or her mode of higher education, by structuring an individual path. So this is called entirely customizations of learning. Customization means how I will move forward. That is my prerogative, and I can design my own path of progress in the learning world. And these provisions and this atmosphere should be existing at these educational systems to enable this for the learner to achieve this. So, and this is a time of collaborative and personal learning. It is being observed that one particular domain of knowledge is not sufficient enough to take care of a specific problem. Any problem solution requires multi-dimensional approach. And that's for collaborative intelligence. Personal collaborative intelligence means importance of all the subjects together in taking care of a particular problem to propose a foolproof solution as far as possible. Holistic solution. That became a particular feature here. Personalized form of learning. Personalized form of learning means how I can take care of my own passion, my own interest in the learning process. That became very prominent. So each and every subject are now going to be getting to be more more important now. Because of this fact, you see, I can cite some examples. Earlier, it was said that you belong to the disciplines of humanity, you belong to the discipline of science, you belong to the discipline of commerce, you belong to the disciplines of technology, you belong to the discipline of medical science. Today, you cannot distinguish who is a doctor and who is an engineer, because doctors, they are using all the tools and gadgets which are developed by the engineers, and engineers also designing many systems taking into consideration this many these biological things. by following this movement of fly, movement of dragonfly, movements of beetle. They are designing drones and all these things. So robots are designed. This how this natural living species moves, how it takes up jobs. Seeing all these things, this mechanical part is being designed. So biological systems is being transferred to mechanical systems, and the mechanical systems is used for solving the problems of biological systems. So it is a loop, cyclic loop. So this is becoming a feature here. You see, in the period of, because after this COVID, this pandemic situation started, for the term the telemedicines and digital healthcare became very evident. What is telemedicine and digital healthcare? Basically, it is massive application of technology in the healthcare system. So now there is a very confusion prevailing. Who is basically doctor and who is engineer? Because all these parameters, body parameters, all these things, the signals, how it is getting analyzed by machines and how interpretation of the signals is done, that requires your engineering knowledge also as well as your medical knowledge. This is one thing. Second is, for example, history. If you look at history of the late, what we are observing so far, 5% or 10% of the early, this remnant of early civilizations that have been discovered, and now still more than 80-90% is lying under the ocean, under the earth, under the streets, and how these are day by day, these are being discovered, and our concept of ideas of the civilization, these are changing. For example, earlier we used to know that Aryan civilization is 5,000 years old. Now it is being said that it is not 5,000, it may be 10,000, more than 10,000, more than 15,000 years old. And Aryans did not come to India from other countries; they were here. These are the research of modern history. But technology, from image processing, signal analysis, and all these tools and techniques, lots of things are being identified right now. These are changing our concept, our perception. So these are things. So there's all these things for geography and information technology combined together to develop the geoinformatics. Geospatial science, this is assisting this history to reveal itself in a new format. Language, if you know the language properly, that language, how it is getting transferred in natural language processing, that is a very important part of computer application right now. How human language can be used as a machine language. NASA is working on Sanskrit, how to use Sanskrit for programming language. So these are all these things. You see, the importance of all subjects are still now existing. So we cannot say these are elite subjects, these are not so elite subjects, this is a different area, that everything they have the relation to each other, every subject. So this is the major feature. This is the major feature of Education 4.0. Learner at the center, personal learning. Personalized learning means this is one concept called Ikigai, Japanese concept Ikigai. If you look at Google, you can validate these things. Whatever I am telling you can always validate, because everything you have, your smartphone, your computer, laptops, computers, you can go to internet, you can check all this information. Ikigai is a concept where it is being said, many things we have done so far without not taking the call of our heart. Our passion was something else, we were forced to choose something else. We have seen 3 idiots. One of the students, he had the passion to become wildlife photographer, but by family pressure, he was compelled to take engineering subjects. But afterwards, he responded to the call of his heart. Here, it is being said, if you have passion, if you have skill, if you take it in profession and vocation, then it is a very, very successful scenario. So that is called Ikigai. So that is, and here earlier, those who had the flair in language, they were by peer pressure, family pressure, were compelled to take up medical science or engineering science. Those who have medical science or those who have this engineering science or medical science as their passion, they are supposed to take up some other job, cost accountant or chartered accountants, all these things, or maybe some other professions. Because we dictated the career and the learning path of our next generation. Right now, the learner himself or herself will choose his or her own career path. This opportunity is coming because everything has this equal opportunity right now. So this is Education 4.0, which is we call co-creation and innovation at the center. Co-creation, this is the most important thing, how you are looking at everything. Are you proposing something innovative? So this is to be tested. The creativity, learning plan, outcome. Why all the outcome-based education that became a feature of education 2.0? And then it is becoming more and more prominent. Why this is to be learned? I mean, what is the utility of learning so many things? This particular area, how this will be applied? Everything should be clearly specified. And you see, there are these lots of these opportunities are coming up without any prerequisite. Right now, we can be graduating in discipline because this massive open online courses offered by many universities has opened up this opportunity. If you want to be a computer engineer without any background, you can study from online courses and can be bachelor in computer science and engineering. You can be management MBA also without any prerequisite. That is, these are not becoming that much important. Only thing, how you are taking up the subjects with passion, how you are taking interest in understanding the subjects, and then based on that, this you can take up anything and anywhere learnings, always learnings, lifelong learning. The most important, 3 years before I attend a workshop by Adobe, these three terms: learning, unlearning, relearning. Whatever you are learning today, tomorrow you have to shut up that and you have to relearn many things. Because it is continuously changing the entire thing. Many new areas are coming up. So these are the basic features of education 4.0. Universities, education institutes, all these things, maybe at a particular point, at a particular moment, it is capturing that, but it is not the aim. After getting the certificate, your journey for becoming a learned person to enter into the society with that certificate as a passport and encashing that certificate for the entire your career path, it is no longer possible. You have to continuously upgrade yourself, continuous basis upgrade in each and every subject, upgradation on a continuous basis. And there is no doubt of these opportunities. So much these resources and repository available at internet. Always this possibility of engaging ourselves in effective learning on a regular basis is always possible. And based on that, your value in the learning society, learning community will be decided whether you are upgrading yourself on a continuous basis or not. And there are famous adage: if you are not upgrading, definitely you are downgrading, because entire things are moving ahead. So education 4.0, it is beyond boundary. Beyond boundary means sitting here, you can have lectures, you can get yourself learned from lectures of Australian professors, US professors, UK professors, transnational. And here numbers, so it is breaking the boundary of time and space. Any time, evening, night, any time, you can engage yourselves in this learning process. So times and space, that's the barriers, these are getting blurred. So this is basically a way of learning where conventional students, they are becoming an active learner. So full freedom they are getting to choose their course, to choose their knowledge, to choose their skill. What is the role of teachers then? The role of teachers here as a guiding force, to channelize this entire energy in the proper directions. Instead of educator, you have to act as a guide here. So this is this 4.0. It eradicating the distances between culture, society. Students can learn from multiple universities. At this age, I have upgraded myself, acquiring degrees and certificates from many international universities, because this is this affordable and this is accessible. Many times, any moment, you can have this access to all top universities of this world, and you can, if you have intention, always you can learn many things, anything. So this is the educational features of education 4.0. So accelerated remote learning. Here, sitting at your home, you can learn many things. Personalized learning, choice of education tools, project-based learning, field-specific experience, data-based analysis, change in exam pattern and assessment, because it is being said that one-time assessment is not effective enough to assess the quality of the student. So continuous assessment and multiple assessment, and assessment from different perspectives, different angles, maybe sometimes school-based, sometimes projects, sometimes asking them to make presentations, to testing the different skills and attributes of the students. That can be, this a 360 degree, if possible, theoretical 360 degree way of assessing students from different perspectives. Earlier, the system was that we used to test only the memorizing part. So for that, and based on that, we used to classify good students, bad students. There is no bad students. Only our system is bad. Our system, because we could not identify the hidden potential or the strength inside the students. It is not my word. Education is the manifestation of perfection already in humanity. So everyone is perfect. So only we could not identify where the potential was existing. This was our problem, not the problem of the student. So there is no bad learner, there is no bad student. Everyone is good and great. Only thing, we have to identify the goodness and greatness. So this is the features of philosophy of education 4.0. It is started gaining momentum. People are talking about this technology when we are talking about education 4.0. People are talking about technology, and when this talking of technology is coming, then people are talking about digital divide. The world was always divided. If you see, in terms of wealth, it was divided. In terms of power, it was divided. In terms of this our race community, it was divided. So the divide, this coinage of this term digital divide, it is not adding anything new, but it is deterring the spirit of taking these things forward. You see, it is not the problem of the technology. Technology is there. Only thing, we have to make this technology available to the entire population of this country. And you see, still now, we call it digital divide. It is not that physical divide. Road and this communications is uniform divide. If you look at the city itself, in many places, I talked about waterlogging problem in the very beginning of my lectures. It is not happening at many places. At some places, people are suffering from this waterlogging problem. So divide is always there. So this is not a new thing. Only thing, how we are taking all these things in a positive note. This is the most important thing, the power of positive thinking. How we are taking all this latest development for making this, this end, this more formidable, more useful for our learning community. How we are engaging ourselves also as a learner. That is very important. So this is the feature of education 4.0. It has started, this gaining momentum in line with the industry 4.0. I was talking about industry 1.0 that started to invention of steam engine. After that, after 100 years, when the electrical, this engineering that came in picture, people came to know about the power of electricity. Then assembly line came in force, and industry 2.0 that started that came in force. After industry 2.0, then started industry 3.0, where application of computers and all these things started happening in workplaces. In India, it was resistance, when computer was started to introduce in the workplace. But that was the onset of industry 3.0. And now the industry 4.0, which has started only 4-5 years before, the salient feature of it is automation, analytics, and remote work process. Robots will be working at many places, not to they substitute this human, the jobs of the human, because human beings need to be engaged in higher order jobs. That is the challenge for the society. That is the challenge for the country. How human brain can be engaged for higher order jobs. Typical, boring, manual, physical labors that need to be replaced, because we human beings, we are endowed with our brain power. How to capitalize that brain power to the best possible extent is the responsibility of the society, of the country. So this is the features of this industry 4.0. It is happening, and big industrial structure, these are getting disintegrated in the form of small knowledge-based industries. Knowledge-based industries where innovative practices will be followed, innovative things will be coming up. So these are already started. Many startups, many new things, many new ideas based on small, these dimensions. All these industries are coming up. So these are the basic features of industry 4.0, which is called, and it is going to, maybe within 4-5 years, or maybe at the end of this decade, you will be observing many new professions that are appearing which is no longer existing now. Many new technologies are appearing which are no longer existing now. Who will be habituated in using technology in a larger scale. Right now, we are habituated in putting our order to Amazon, Flipkart, and all these things, sitting at our home, calling Uber, Ola, all these things. So this the technology has pervaded to our entire life, and that will continue to pervade the education scenario also, and it will be totally revolutionized. At the end of this decade, we will be seeing there are lots of changes which are happening in the educational systems as a consequence of education 4.0. So with this, I would like to conclude. So thank you for inviting me and for allowing me to share my thoughts among you. Thank you all.
Mrinal. Thank you, sir, for your belligerent deliveries in such a cloud-cast atmosphere, and I'm sure that this will ignite some sparks in us, and which will lead to infernos in our listeners. Thank you very much. I would now request Mrinal, where are you?
Ma'am, hello. Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Very much here. Yeah. So,
and I would very much like to, invite our listeners. I can see there are principals from different colleges affiliated to our university, and students and teachers. So I think there can be a short interactive session because মানে বেশি এমন দিন তো হয় না যে আমরা এমন একজন ডাইনামিক মানুষকে আমাদের মধ্যে পাই, তো আজকে পেয়েছি, খুব সহজে ছাড়বো না। So please. We can questions.
Yeah. So before the formal Thanksgiving and the conclusion, we want some questions so that sir can respond to the appropriate one. Any question, please? You can just unmute yourself and you can ask the question. If anybody have any question, because it was mesmerizing. It was a lot of enriching in many ways, and that could have lot of questions in our mind.
Sure.
Is there any question? Please.
স্যারকে আমার কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন নেই, কিন্তু আমার এটা যেটা ভীষণ ভাবে মাইন্ড ব্লোয়িং লেগেছে যে
madam, please introduce yourself first. Okay, because our honorable guest would definitely like to know who is the person who is phrasing the question. Please.
Ma'am, I am the principal of Calcutta Girls BT College.
Yes.
Okay,
So the madam.
Sir, representation is very mind blowing and thought provoking, but আমার যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা নেই, আমার একটা জিনিস ভীষণ ভালো লেগেছে, যেটা হলো there is a positive correlation between the contribution between engineer and doctor, mechanical and মানে এটা ভীষণ ইনোভেটিভ লেগেছে স্যার। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
Thank you, Maksud madam.
That
Thank
is
you.
why sir is here. Okay. Yeah.
So is there
Yes.
any question? So it's our opportunity to explore, sir.
I think
Please.
Dr. Kaustubh Bhattacharya.
What is about Pandulipi? Pandulipi decipheration. That is taking help of image processing. That is one of the technology of information science and technology. Computers is deciphering these Pandulipis, and computer identifying the characters and all these things and making these things understandable. So earlier it was very difficult. Earlier people used to identify these all these connotations, all these signals, all these symbols, these dimension of the symbols manually. Now computers with minute precise details, this is analysis and deciphering all these things. So Pandulipi decipher process is being taken care by computer science, this information technology. It's called image processing and signal analysis.
So thank you, sir, again. So before yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. I'm Dr. Rajiv Shah, assistant professor of this university. Sir, thank you for your mesmerizing lecture.
Another point, I was just forgetting.
Yes, sir.
Rajiv, let Professor Maitra finish his.
Yes, sir.
Another problem, Pandulipi, I
You
think
can ask your question.
question was not complete. What about Pandulipi? That was
Yes.
the question. There is two parts. One is deciphering part. Another is preservation part. For preservation, it can be stored in cloud, and its lifetime is infinity. When it is stored in cloud in the scanned format, then maybe after thousands years and 2000 years, people will be able to retrieve and read all these things. So this is the beauty of this technology. There is no lifespan. This cloud technology is making lifespan unlimited for each and every valuable manuscript. So today's concept is for preservations of old books and all these Pandulipis and manuscripts. There is a project taken up by this, there is a body called archival theater group, that organization is there. I planned to take up this project, but I found that they have already taken up this project. For all these books where pages have become fragile, there, these optical scannings and all these things, and preserving this in cloud. This process they have already taken up. So this is one of the technology. So everywhere now technology is working.
Sir, I would like to share some information in this regard with you. As you know that I have been, assigned with additional charge of Sanskrit University. There actually we have done this because Sanskrit University has a manuscript section with almost 30,000 pages have been digitized, and definitely in near future we would seek your advice in preserving them.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes.
valuable
Yes.
information. Yes.
Thank you. Yes,
I
Rajiv.
think Rajiv was there with some questions.
Rajiv, please.
Yes,
Where
ma'am.
are you?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Yeah. So actually, ma'am, thank you for your mesmerizing lecture. You have opened many new.
Someone is talking
new
about,
stuff.
just I saw a question, education 5.0. I am telling you one thing. One of the experiments Google has undertaken recently, that recruitment of personnel without any formal educational background. If you have knowledge, if you have skill, if you have ability, and if you have the ability, the positive mindset for learning and continuous learning, then you are becoming employable. Google, 70% of their employees, they are having these types of criteria. So education 5.0, when you are talking about this maybe, these another things where formalizations or institutionalization of education systems that may no longer be valid. Let us see what comes in education 5.0. Sometimes in country like Zimbabwe, what we have observed, they are describing education 5.0 from some other perspective. They are comparing education 3.0 because they thought that education 3.0 means it is based on 3 verticals. So they have introduced 2 more verticals, and they are starting to describe it as education 5.0. But in my view, this is only a limited vision of seeing the transformation of education. 5.0 will bring some more, this perspective, some more new things in the existing system.
Yes, Rajiv, please. Rajiv, we are now open to ask
Okay. Sir. Sir, you are saying that only we need to have a positive attitude towards learning because there are so many opportunities to, with the use of technology toward the world. Especially, you have mentioned the concept of MOOC. But you are also speaking about digital divide, and you mentioned that divide is always there in the world. Sir, I would like to share my view that being in a privileged condition like you and me, or the other members present here, we can say that the divide was always there because we are in the privileged position and we can have access to all the facilities in the world. Because if you see that MOOC provides us the opportunity to pursue any kind of course without having any background in that course. But only if we have the access to internet. Whenever in our country, especially, I'm saying that in our country in this pandemic situation, we can see that almost 80 crore people do not have access to their food every day. And many of our students today, we have informed many of our students, but they could not connect to the internet connectivity because of the low bandwidth or something like that. And they are also suffering from attending the classes. So how can we ignore the divide? No doubt, we should have positive attitude towards learning, but because of that divide, even our positive attitude is sometimes harmful. How can we ignore this?
No, this is not the question. We can ignore it, divide. But the thing is this, talking about divide and going against the tide, that cannot happen simultaneously. Time and tide, that will surplus everything. You see, you can say that when all this situation will be normal, everyone will be blessed with these digital gadgets and access, then we will start all these things. You can think of that. That is a hypothetical condition. That condition, that will never happen. In our system, we think, in our engineering systems, if you cannot eliminate a problem, you have to minimize it. Because there is no perfect solution for many complex problems. Only thing it is optimization. How we are optimizing. You see, I can tell you, we have published one book, and we are going to publish another book. And I will request you to kindly look at our website when this book will be available. That is the warriors who are fighting in spite of all these challenging scenario, how to circumvent these obstacles. one teacher, probably you have noticed few months before, as internet was not available, he climbed up to a neem tree because at that place only internet was available. So he
In
explored and
Bankura.
explored where is internet available. So he went there, he climbed up the tree and he set up his the school and class at the the branches of the tree. You see, when there is an adversity, it acts as a fuel. You have to design innovative solution for that. Because all these human races, mukam karati bachalam pangam langhate grim, chatkripa tamayan vande madhavam. That means if you have the desire and passion, if you have the positive mindset, and if you believe in that God is always there to help you, then nothing is a problem. Only that's why I told you that kindly read this concept of Ikigai, kindly read all these things. There are challenges, there are problems everywhere. Even with the lame, with one leg, with the absence of one leg, Arunima Sinha climbed the Mount Everest. We are talking about all these things. So challenge and problems are always there. So how you yourself are contributing to work on this challenge? Individually you think, how you are doing. So it is the questions of not we are sitting at the privileged class. Every one of us, we have to engage ourselves how to take care of the challenging scenario. It is not the questions of the country will do all these things, the society will all this. Individually we have to contribute. And if you think seriously, then there are lots of innovative ideas that will definitely come to your mind. And the history of human being is like that. Everywhere you see, when food scarcity is a problem, everywhere food is not available. You know, in hunger index, where is the position of this country? At the rock bottom position. Even after so many years, we could not provide 2 square meal to all the Indian citizens. Don't you think it's a divide and this problem is to be resolved again? So in talking about digital divide and depriving those who have the access for this facility, do you think it is logical?
So
A small query. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I can see you only. I don't know where. I mean, I can't see Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir.
Sir is very much there, sir. Sir
I have a
is listening.
small
Yes.
query rather than question. Yeah. Now. Yeah, I'm just inquisitive about one thing. That is, recently there has been a trend of arranging sports like IPL and then European Football Cup and etc. in a bio-bubble environment. So, do you think that it is possible for us to introduce the same, that is bio-bubble environment, in our educational institutions and start face-to-face, that is offline classes?
That is possible. You see, everywhere, the questions of Europe and US, they can afford many things. Here, the questions of how we are planning all these things. Maybe in a prototype on small scale, we have to implement these things and then we have to go for scale up. To scale this, even I can tell you that this experimentation part should be always there. There are lots of ways, lots of these new things are coming up. And here from India also, there are many new ideas are coming up. How to take care of all these problems and all these things. Wi-Fi was a problem, so people are not talking about Li-Fi. So this is another form of technology. This is coming up. As there is a problem, so solution definitely will come. And because so many human minds, they are thinking of because this is not a problem of a country like India. This is a problem of many big countries. India is a big country. Big country, we have Brazil, China, and big countries like this, where large number of people stay. There is a problem. Always a problem is there. And when there is a problem, people are thinking in an innovative manner how to take care of it.
Solution. So thank you, everybody. So before my formal summing up the issues, I'm inquisitive because I'm a learner. I have two
Are you
questions.
sure that there isn't any more question from anybody, any of our listeners? Are you sure?
No, sir. Actually, it is one
Because
point
this
one.
lecture was so interesting, I think many of our listeners, students,
Maybe so. Lot of it. Maybe
feeling
so.
very
So you have
interested,
to.
just like I am. Yes.
We have to conclude our
Okay.
section.
Yes.
So that's so I have two questions. First one, মানে অন্ধ হলে প্রলয় বন্ধ থাকে না. So I may not invite the flood, I may not invite the Amphan or Yash, but Yash and Amphan.
I am telling you another interesting solution developed by some of my colleagues. They are working at private colleges and all these engineering colleges. You see these MOOCs and all these things which are coming to India. Most of these, they are expensive. Sometimes for India government for SWAMP and NPTELs, this is not free. You have to pay 1,200 rupees for a certificate. So they developed a platform, MOOCs platform from the state, from West Bengal, maybe from the India first time, where app-based MOOCs will be provided. App-based MOOCs means it can be downloaded, it can be preserved, and even when internet is not available, you can have access to that. And assessment part will be there. You will have the chance to interact with the teachers. Charge is very limited, 300 rupees, only to maintain this entire technology and to support the teachers who will be contributing to these MOOCs. So from the standard Coursera platform, they are offering courses not less than 2,500 and all these prices. From there, taking it down to 300, even with the system where when there is no internet also, you can have this access to these learning systems. So that's why I'm talking about the questions to answering Rajiv Shah's questions, the digital divide. You see, everything is not digital. You can have your resources from where you are keeping yourselves in online or offline mode, synchronous or asynchronous mode. So take all these things from digital divide, store it, and when there is no internet and technology, all this available, then you use all these things in offline mode, asynchronous mode. So lots of things are coming up. I can tell this future is very brilliant for our Indians, because India's IT minds, information technology, and this logic, particularly we have two lobes of our brains, right lobes and left lobes. One represents our logical part, another represents our creative part. Our creative part is very active, and this already the movement has started to blend this creative part with the logical part, and we will see the result of all these things within a limited period of time. The future is very bright for us.
Sir, thank you again. So I have 3 questions. I just delivered 3 questions simultaneously so that you can respond. First, I want to give first information is Smithsonian is a Japanese magazine. They have claimed that one novel was written in 2019, and which was nearly winning a Nobel Prize, a prize in a novel writing competition. And someone, Professor Philip, has written 250 books through artificial intelligence, giving all kind of information, and 250 books have been written, co-written by the artificial intelligence. They are selling in the MS. So, what will be the role of the new age human writer? First. Second thing, SBR Bank in Soviet, in Russia, the previous Soviet Union, Russia, they have used only 33 robot lawyers to scale down their all lawyers, and they have a target in 2021 to reduce their employee in 1,000 from 59,000. In a massive reduction is approached by employing artificial intelligence. So what will be the future of the writer? What will be the future of the laborer who want to contribute in the system? What alternative they may have for the livelihood? And the third question is that you are definitely perfectly choose the term for the 4.0, that it's a brain-based, more unique brain-based approach should be adapted, and it should be a knowledge-based mechanism. Now, when we'll gradually engage in the brain-based system, we have a physics, we have a biological existence. We are more idle. The system will not physically workable, and it may be so. This pandemic is a pause, and that is giving a threat to us. That if we shift to enter the intellectual existence, that maybe make our body a temple for the microbes, and we may face severe threat of the infection, that is a biological infection, and that may pose a threat to the existence of our human creature as a species. So there is 3 questions. Humbly I am giving for, because
I'm starting from the third question first. This threat from these microbes and all these things, it is always there. This depends on how peacefully we are cohabiting with this natural species. Because we have destroyed this environment. This is another issue. Maybe next time when I will be coming, I will deliver lectures on this consequence of this environmental impact on all these things, how it is going to impact our existence in this future. So, everything is there, but if by disasters, man-made or nature-made disasters, this entire civilization comes to a halt, then nothing will happen. So this is one thing. But already Elon Musk started a project of sending people to Mars. You see, you are foreseeing this threat beforehand, that in planet maybe our future is at stake because of this severe damage created to this environment. So trying to migrate to other planets, this may come up in near future. This is one thing. And regarding this identification, because your body, you are representing 1/3 of you. You know all these things because 2/3 of you is consisting of other particles, microbes, bacteria, foreign particles. Only 1/3 of your body is bearing your signature, your genetic signature. Rest 2/3 is not. Our system is like that, and we have this unique ability to adjust ourselves because this pandemic, all these things that came in this history of human civilization so many times, but our body got immune. Our body started developing this hosting some particles or some species which are this counteracting all these the deadly viruses and deadly bacteria. So this process, this adaptation with the system that takes time. People are talking about herd immunity. This is a feature of this that will come in future. This is now the thing is regarding artificial substitutions of human. All these human jobs are artificial intelligence. Human body and mind, it is a unique thing. You see, there are lots of chemicals. 4 chemicals primarily are responsible for many of our behavior. These are called EDSO: endorphin, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. Entire, this brain is working on biochemical process. Computer is not working on biochemical process. It is the chemical part is not there. So there are very subtle things. You see, what at best it can do. These compilations of many informations, analysis of information, presenting this information, that can happen. But transferring this sentiment, all these human minds and all this, the facet of human minds, that implantation of all these things in machine, that I do not think whether it will be entirely possible or not, because in our system, so many things people are now coming to know these millions and millions of these cells, their chemicals and the natures of these chemicals. Till now, it all has not been identified. How the brain is working, how this emotion is working, still it is under research. We had not yet understood our entire system fully. Then how we can replicate it to machine? So maybe one part of our human brain and human mind that can be copied in the form of machine, but not the entire thing. Because till now we are not in a position to understand the entire complexity of human mind, human brain, and human body, human physiology.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a response. So we are at the fag end of the program. It may be so there are a lot of questions are pending. In the latter occasion, we'll have Sir with us, and it's a great pleasure for us to have him in with us in virtual platform. So it was a tremendous, mesmerizing journey. Actually, Sir has led us to a journey which has been started from 17th century, and he has dropped us on 21st 2021 and provoked us thought about and brought in a lot of issues in the educational arena, so that we can puzzle ourselves, we can torture our brain little bit, we can storm our brain, and we can invent and we can give a new kind of thought, new kind of relook the entire system from a different perspective. He was started from the before and after the impact of the First World War, and he spoke that how the militarization has impacted the entire system of education, and later on he told that it is a process or time of redressing the education system. He touched the British education system. He not mentioned the name of Macaulay, but he told about how the Macaulay have tried to transform the Indian education system, and there was a confrontation between the traditional system and the European system. Later on he talked about the most ancient practice of the education, including China, Greece and India, how that was a elitist education, but with a tremendous strength of flexibility and the component of intellectualism, and that was a kind cooperation and collaboration and intimacy of the gurus and the shishas, the kind of paramparas, but that was restricted to the elitist group. And then he came to the 18th century issues, and how this elitist right of education became the mass education, and how this has been transformed, and how the new technology has engaged and influenced the entire arena of the teaching learning. And after 1990, there is a massive process of the modernization of education after the introduction of the Microsoft in the field, and there is a change of our behavioral pattern, our social value. The social media play an instrumental role, and till that time, from 10 to 20, we were delimited ourselves with engaging certain limit of technology. but there is an overlap between 2.0 and 3.0 technology, and he has told that how we have unknowingly moved to the digital area, that is digital age, and how the classical education became transformed to the personalized, child-centered education from the authoritarian teacher-centered approach. And he has most importantly mentioned in the Education 4.0 how robotics, how automatization, how artificial intelligence has influenced tremendously the entire process and the system management of education, and compelled us, those who are engaged in education, to rethink, to give a relook and the entire policy of the education. And he's guided us in a journey towards 5.0, and he talks about the Japanese kind of philosophy where we should always test and validate our knowledge at each and every time, and we should be a co-creator. There is no teacher-student relationship. Every teacher is a learner. He may be a senior learner, but he is a co-learner, and that kind of ramifications and the dynamism has been going into the education system, and we have to prepare ourselves. We have to resilient. যেমন আমি বলছিলাম যে অন্ধ হলে প্রলয় বন্ধ থাকবে না, টেকনোলজির যে ঝড় সেটা আসবেই। We have to make ourselves ready, and we have the potential to ready for accommodating this education and humanize this technology. We have to accommodate the technology and humanize the technology as sir guided, and I hope in future we have a lot of interaction and collaboration so that we can design a path to work together, because sir is dominating and designing in the technological sphere, and also that is impacting unknowingly and knowing the critical discourse of pedagogy. And we are at the teacher education, because teachers are indispensable. Even at the last there will be a teacher. How the teacher could be evolved, how the teacher could be customized, how the teacher could be blended with such kind of artificial intelligence, with the robotic and humanoid teacher can be collaborate. That's a challenge to us, and we could be able to do it and design it for the future research. And finally, sir has guided us to be ready for any change, and we have been the resilient species, human being will be able to do all these things. So it's a wonderful collaboration, it's a wonderful lecture. It's more than so-called formal academic, to the touching the ground level reality and touch the all essence and the without aesthetic flavor. Yes,
I
sir.
think right now, actually I thought that we can, here itself we can request sir, give us the write-up on this subject.
Yeah.
Upcoming, annual journal. So
Yes.
You can request here
Yeah.
sir. Yeah.
So we'll maintain liaison and contact with sir's office, and we'll have this kind of lecture, and we'll be happy to print all these things. And now it's a fag end of the program with the due permission of the Vice Chancellor, Hon'ble Prof, because she was keen and she was always poking me, Mrinal, go on for this lecture, don't delay, go for embracing, go for having sir with us, our domain. So I tried to respond all the time. I kept liaison with the office and sir too personally. Now our head of the department, Dr. Vishwajit Bala, so I am requesting Dr. Bala to give a formal vote of thanks. Please, Dr. Bala. Please, Dr. Bala, it's your turn. Over to you for the formal vote of thanks. Dr. Bala.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mukherjee. Thank you very much. Now the time for formal vote of thanks. Namaste all of you. I believe all of you and your family in good health. Today we get a renowned engineer and giant in this field of engineering. I am very much delighted that I got the opportunity for formal vote of thanks. On behalf of our university, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our renowned scholar in engineering science, Professor Saikat, Maitra, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, that is MAKAUT. He was also a ex-professor, Government College of Engineering and Ceramic Technology, Kolkata. We know that learning is a modification of behavior through experience and training. sir covers what is the future of learning, the concept of learning changing in respect of time. Sir cover machine learning and what is the future of machine learning and concept of changing of machine learning. Sir also cover and explain various modern learning area. Sir also cover medical science. We know that we are facing a tremendous pressure, COVID situation. This position, the concept of learning, enormous change. Sir explained and extend all the areas of learning and future direction of learning. Thank you, sir. He also designed and extend another path of learning that changes in respect of time. Sir spared his busiest schedule to grace the occasion today. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thought, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future events, sir. Your thoughts have enlightened your minds and have shown us a new path. My gratitude to you, sir, for gracing the occasion and sharing your opinion today. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Soma Bandyopadhyay ma'am. She is also renowned author and Sahitya Academy awardee and dynamic personality in the field of education arena. She has played a guiding force behind this special lecture series. Ma'am also tried to set new benchmark for us. Thank you very much, ma'am. I special mention to our Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Professor Bandyopadhyay, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing us as pillar of strength. I am delighted to extend two sincere thanks to our Registrar Sir, Deputy Registrar both academic and administrative, Controller Sir, Finance Officer Sir, and all principals and QIC, our university, under our university, who are present our this August presentation. I am also thanks to our beloved students who are present in this special lecture, our officials, and Mr. Sitam Samanto for his technical support. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Mukherjee.
Thank you. So, ma'am, with your due permission, we could conclude here. Ma'am, are you there? Madam?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm there. Am I audible?
Yeah, quite
Yes.
audible. Yes.
So it was a wonderful brainstorming session. Thank you very much, Professor Maitra. We are looking forward to having you again amongst us very soon in the future. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So we are concluding here, sir.